Thanks so much, Tim. Let's go back out to Marissa Parra.
Here we go.
She is on Wacker and LaSalle and Vince Gerasole. Vince, Marissa?
Actually, we have moved. We made it across the bridge just to check out what the lights were about. We are now on Kinsey and Clark, and Vince was actually out here earlier. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see part of Trump Tower, and you can see a wall of police right
It's 2
here.
blocks from us. So Kinsey is a street that heads east-west. 2 blocks away is Trump Tower. There's a line of police officers here on bicycles keeping anyone from using this street to get here. And the police vehicles that are actually going in that direction, Marissa, they're headed this way. They head a block north from here, and then they turn right, and then they're making their way toward Trump Tower. And if we could raise the camera, I don't know how easy it is to see it, but you can see that there is a significant police presence just at the base of Trump Tower. Now, do you see those red and white and blue spiral lights there? That leads to the garage of the Trump Tower. And that seems to be at the base of that garage to the Trump Tower. That seems to be where these police officers have set up some sort of blockade or command center or some sort of staging area while they're there. And Marissa, I don't know, how many police officers would you say are there? I would estimate about 60 at least.
I mean, that's just the ones we can see. I mean, we've seen plenty more, at least 2 or 3 dozen driving past us since we've been here.
Now, this was an area that was hit extremely hard last night, and if you can take a look along the streets here, you can see, I was here earlier today, and these storefronts were being boarded up, and the police are doing a significant job in trying to keep this area secure. Since we began this report here, these police cruisers pulled up and they continue to block and secure the area. So you could freely travel this area less than 30 or 40 minutes ago. Now things have been blocked. These cruisers seem to be making their way straight.
And it looks like we're seeing some action. Look at the police officers taking off on their bikes. We're hearing some scuffles. We're hearing move, move, move from police officers. Again, we don't know what is happening, but we're going to walk in this direction and perhaps we will be able to get a better look at what we're seeing. But again, we can't stress this enough. These things change so fast, so quickly. It's a fluid situation at all times.
And once again, keep in mind what's at the end of the street. It is Trump Tower. It is the garage to Trump Tower. That would be an area you'd want to secure because it's easy to enter that area there. And some significant movement is happening in this area here. Once again, at this time last night, this was about the time that not protesters, but rioters made their way into this River North neighborhood. As they were hurling objects into windows. They began looting stores, and that's when all sorts of problems began. You can see the remnants of the work that people had to do.
And excuse the profanity.
Right here at the tower, for example, they're still boarding the windows. Crews are still here trying to protect the area. And then up ahead, let's not lose sight of the police. They've all rushed to Trump Tower. They're on their bicycles. They're faster than we are. So we're going to do our best to catch up with them and keep you abreast. Right now we're at the corner of Dearborn and Kinsey. And to get up to where the Trump Tower is, the next street up is State Street. And to get there, the street is elevated. So in order to make it to...
Oh, I see them. So if you look at the steps over there, you see the blue helmets. I don't know if you can zoom in, Sama. It might be a little shaky. But you can see the steps are just covered with blue helmets. Those blue face shields, we've seen them wear today and parts of yesterday as well. We're getting closer. We're going to hopefully...
That's right. To make your way to State Street, which is elevated, it's one of Chicago's elevated streets and points, you have to use that stairway. Police officers on their bicycles now have taken over that stairway. We're going to slowly make our way up there.
Again, that is, we're having a little hard time hearing Marissa Parra and Vince Gerasole as they make their way east toward Trump Tower on Kinsey. But as you can see in the distance there, that is Trump Tower. They are walking toward Trump Tower right now. There appears to be some activity. A number of police officers on bicycles and cars moved east toward Trump Tower, and that is where Marissa Parra and Vince Gerasole are running now, and now they've come to a stop. So let's see what we can hear.
So, Jim, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Jim?
I can hear you very well, yes.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you very well, Vince. Go ahead.
Here's the difference here. Here's the difference here. We are noticing not only the police presence outside the American Medical Association, which is just across the street from Trump Tower, but can you see that there are more secured police officers in green with their shields? This is a significant police presence that we haven't seen in other areas. Maybe if we step over here, you can get a better look at it.
Cut through.
And then also, if you take a look south, you can see that the bridge is up blocking traffic. And just to the east of the bridge, there's another significant police presence. The way to Trump Tower from here would be through the plaza that's along the river, or up the stairs that lead you beyond State Street. And that's blocked by this significant police presence. And then you can see the stanchions in the street as well. Those stanchions are blocking any traffic from getting to the underground area by Trump Tower, and actually the underground areas that go throughout most of
And I want to point out also, when you talked about the difference in police response and uniforms, let's take a look real quick. Let's zoom in if we can. I mean, some of them you can see they're carrying canisters. Some of them have gas masks on, and they are walking towards us. So we are being told to move, and we are going to.
They're sending us this way. They're sending us this way.
So crowds are dispersing. Look, take a look at everyone that's dispersing as they are telling us to move. One guy has two people have their hands up.
They're clearly securing this area. They're asking us to move.
And telling us to move as well.
This is the last time.
So there seems to be some newer concern here.
Can you guys hear us okay?
We can. Keep going.
We can.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
So you're walking back down
you can
LaSalle.
see we're ending right back where we started. We're walking right back where we started. This is as a result of, you know, the police officers are telling us to move. That includes us.
Right.
So
now we're headed toward LaSalle, Erica. We're on Kinsey. We're about to get to Dearborn. But that significant police line, that's a message right there. It's not necessarily near where Trump Tower is. It's not near crowds, but that is definitely a message to get back.
And I personally haven't seen that before in any of the protests or the responses that I've been to so far.
That's a first. That would be the most significant symbol of police force that we have seen since we began. And the idea is to get back, to move back. They are securing this area.
And
we could hold up here for
I'm
just a
gonna help
second.
our producer who is walking backwards. We want to make sure she doesn't stumble upon into the street here. We're gonna guide.
So now at Dearborn and Kinsey, the area has been cleared. This police line is now stretching west on Kinsey as far as Dearborn. So anyone who was walking around has now been pushed to Dearborn and Kinsey.
And it appears this is where they're stopping. They are not advancing beyond this point. And now they are turning. And it looks like this is it. It looks like this is where they want people to stay.
At least for the moment. I think, you know, this is my conjecture here, but I think what they noticed is that there were a fair number of people
encroaching,
following the action, which is not what their objective was. Their objective was solidify, you know, make sure the area is safe and get people away. So that's kind of sort of why we're starting to see this here. We don't know if this is in response to any activity closer to Trump Tower or on the east side of Trump Tower. But clearly, those are, that's a picture, if we can see that. That is a picture of force. That is a picture to let people know this police department is serious. However, there are not massive crowds in this area either. And once again, this was the corner of Chicago that saw so much damage yesterday. There are other places suffering right now in metropolitan Chicago. This was one of the first to bear the brunt of it.
And they're vulnerable right now with those broken windows exposed. Those who haven't had a chance to board.
That's right. And we saw significant damage in the South Loop today. We saw very difficult situations unfolding throughout various parts of Chicago right now. But this is the area that they're trying to secure.
And now they're walking back. They're walking back towards Trump Tower, and so far no one else is following them. So we'll see if that situation changes, if they do. But for now, it looks, you guys saw the crowd. It's now dwindled down to maybe a dozen in total between on this side and on that side of the street. But you guys saw that for yourselves.
Let's see if we can head on up here. Only one bridge is on here.
As Vince and Marissa
If we
walk
head
down
on
the
up
street.
this way.
Vince, I just want to interject here as you and Marissa walk. Let's remind people, Donald Trump, when he was in real estate, when he was a real estate developer, built that tower at Wabash in the Chicago River, the site of the old Sun-Times building. It's a condo complex. There are hotel rooms there. When Donald Trump announced that he was running for president in June of 2015, from that moment until today, it has often been the scene of massive protests. It started after he made his speech announcing that he was running for the presidency, when he talked about Mexicans entering the country. And since that moment, it has been the scene of protest when people want to express their anger at the president of the United States. There was an enormous confrontation between protesters and police yesterday outside of Trump Tower. Lots of pushing, lots of shoving, police officers injured, police cars damaged, and it's clear that the Chicago Police Department is trying to prevent that from happening tonight at 8:45.
And Jim,
Jim, if I could just interject here, I remember the last time, or one of the times we covered protests in front of Trump Tower, and this would have been right after his inauguration. And there were crowds that the police controlled then, and they pushed them away from Trump Tower, and then they pushed them back into the loop, and they pushed the crowds back into areas that they had more secure, areas they felt where they could more control the crowd a bit better. That's probably part of their strategic plan right now, although one can only guess. But what we've done is we've made our way around, and if we get to the edge here, and they allow us to get to the edge, you'll see the significant police presence just on the other side.
You might be able to see them in the windows. They're silhouettes, right? Right, Vince? Can you see those?
Just so everyone knows, we're right by.
And Vince, Marissa, as you approach that scene and get us a closer view of what look to be officers in the windows, I want to mention that we're just about 14 minutes out from the beginning of this curfew. As you were saying, in the city of Chicago, they seem to be strategic tonight about blocking off certain areas where they saw protests last night. Meanwhile, we want to bring to your attention this coming just in from Aurora, the mayor issuing a state of emergency there and a curfew, saying, Mayor Irvin saying, today we hosted a peaceful protest at the Aurora Police Department. However, once that ended, it grew with other participants throughout the streets of Aurora, and they will not tolerate lawlessness in the city. Therefore, their curfew begins at 8:30 tonight, which means it started just about 20 minutes ago, and it will go through 6 a.m. tomorrow. So that will remain, and they're asking people to stay at home or work during this time. They do have increased security. Interstate 88 entrance ramps to Aurora will be closed during the curfew for those that may be having some reason to have business or live there, and residential or employment identification will be necessary to obtain entrance from the interstate. So as we are nearing a curfew, the start of the curfew once again in Chicago, with Marissa and Vince out there surveying the scene of officers, we're learning that Aurora is adding a curfew on top of the fact that Tinley Park had one that started just about 48 minutes ago as well. So we are following, you can see here, Vince and Marissa, who are trying to show us a different view of officers assembled. And Vince, Marissa, if you can hear us, we can see them farther off, and the bridge definitely still up there as they assemble.
Yes, this is the State Street Bridge, Erica. And what we're trying to do, Erica, is we're trying to get a little bit further down here. And you should be able to get a piece of the state by Trump Tower if we get closer to the bridge.
Forgive us, we know that it's hard potentially to hear us because the bridge is raised, which means you hear that loud dinging, the ring of the bells in the background. Unfortunately, it's pretty hard to see.
Yeah, I don't know if you can make it out. I'm gonna stay behind the camera here so I can get a better idea of what you can see. But you can see that the bridge the Ballaskill Bridge right outside the Trump Tower is lifted. So there is no access from the loop from south of the Chicago River to Trump Tower. Just on the other side of the street from Trump Tower is the American Medical Association and the Langham Hotel. That is secured with stanchions and a police presence. Once again, if you can make out the police there, I don't notice them standing at attention, being more alert than they normally would on their shift. Some of them seem to be standing quite casually, but they are securing this area here. And then as we look further north on State Street, you can see that police have now blocked off this portion of State. You can see off in the distance where the blue lights are shining. That's where police have now blocked off traffic altogether. And they continue to corner off at the corner of Kinsey and State. You can't get past there. There's a strong police presence. That's where we were earlier. And Marissa, you can hear helicopters up above now?
Yeah, but it's always hard to tell whose helicopters those are, of course. So, not sure if that's a news chopper or a police chopper, but we hear a lot of activity around here. And of course, we see it more so between all the way down there and all across. And I will say, I mean, one thing, I haven't seen any broken windows, at least on this side of Trump Tower. However, you see a lot of tagging on the base of it. You know, a lot of it is explicit, so we don't want to show that on camera.
We are right at the base of the Marina Towers. The people who live in those apartments and condominiums have a clear view of what's happening here as well. Just lets you know that this is not just an office area and a hotel area, but people call this area home. This is happening literally at their front doors. A significant number of people live here and have lived here for decades. This is where they call home, and this is happening outside their front door. They actually would have a difficult time getting in and out of here if they wanted. And as night continues to fall in this area, I will say it's a little bit darker here. The street lights have been are not on in this particular area. I don't know if there was any rhyme or reason to that, but I think it's so many people know as the weather you can come here and enjoy the afternoon. It is completely blocked off. Stanchions on the west side of it, and then on the east side of it, it just looks like there's a police gate. And I wish I could get a better view of the Trump Tower. I'm going to go try. You guys can stay. I'm going to just go try to get a little.
Okay, well, Vince goes to see what he can get a vantage point of over there, you know, just to bring some context yet again for those who are just joining us, you know, to get a sense of how hard it is to get around, you know, just whether you want to go into the loop or come out of the loop. I mean, I had encountered several people today who were having difficulties themselves. They needed, they had a problem getting in or out, but they needed something that was inside of here. They didn't even want to be a part of the protest. And we're right next to this raised bridge. And Vince, did you have a chance to see anything?
I just looked over in that area, and I couldn't get the best view of the State Street entrance to Trump Tower. It does not look like anyone is congregating there, but it is a highly secured area. And that goes, without a doubt, that's not an exaggeration. You've been seeing evidence throughout. It looks like we're seeing some more police officers arriving here at this moment. They're actually moving away. There doesn't seem to be urgency in their step, but it looks like this contingent of officers is now moving closer to Trump Tower. Not all of them are going.
But
You're only going to notice shadows right now because of the lighting conditions. But we have a fair number of officers still positioned here at the plaza. But now other officers, and they seem to be coming from a different group of officers, right, Marissa?
Yeah.
They seem to be coming from a group of officers making their way over to the base of Trump Tower.
And we are, just to remind you guys, we have that curfew that starts in 7 minutes. And while there aren't as many people or as many crowds, we're going to go and walk across ourselves here. While there aren't as many crowds as we had seen yesterday, there's still a decent number of people out. And, obviously journalists are out because we are here to document what is happening. But there's a number of people who are not journalists that are still out and taking photos or watching to see what happens here. All right, Vince, did you see anything?
I didn't, and we work as a team. So we have a team of reporters around Trump Tower. Tara Molina is right there. Why don't you come here, Tara, real quick? So you've been able to come from the other side of Trump Tower, right?
Right. So we walked over this way because the only bridge that's open right now still tonight is LaSalle. We've come up this way over there as far as we could get. We have not seen any kind of disruptions, any kind of protest, right?
But definitely an area that's secured, and an area where police are doing their best to make sure no one enters.
The parameter here is so secure right now, Vince. I mean, can we even just give an idea? I know it's dark for you to see, but there are tens of officers just in this one area, and that is surrounding Trump Tower right now.
And Tara, you were just walking here with the rest of your crew. Tell us, what were you seeing? I mean, we're just a few minutes away from curfew. Are people still out over there?
It was so interesting. So we were walking down State Street. Of course, State Street, typically a very busy part of the city. Total ghost town. We really didn't see anyone. Maybe one or two people out for a walk, but you can tell it's coming up on curfew time. People seem to be paying attention to that tonight.
When you said total ghost town, and what's interesting is, we've heard that before because, I know it's easy to forget right now, but we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So we had the stay-at-home order not that long ago, but this is a totally different feel. A ghost town today is a totally different thing than a ghost town when the executive order first started. And morning
That's
windows.
right. There's this sense of urgency and seriousness beyond what we experienced during the stay-at-home orders.
Right. The three of us adjusted to a new Chicago. This is a whole new level.
Right. Face masks and then some with the police presence and barricades
So
on top
Tara
of
is
everything.
part of our crew here. We've got Jeremy Ross. I didn't notice him until just now. And Reed Nolan. They're moving. We work in threes, everybody, to help secure ourselves. So they're moving on up to another location while we hold this down for you here.
So we look forward to Jeremy's report shortly, as well as Tara's. Good seeing you guys. Stay safe.
Just to give you an idea of how we're doing our best to keep you covered, to let you know what's happening in our city, and the response of the people who police and patrol it as well. Once again, we're just going to head over here just a little bit. I think the lights will look better for you to see the police officers here. And as we said before, they're walking casually,
Right.
but as casually as you can in this type of moment. I think so we have been noticing this presence here around Trump Tower, not noticing any crowds, but clearly the police are prepared for something. This
Where's
was
that?
a very
Where's
different
New York
place
and
last
Broadway?
night. An awful lot of chaos, and they're trying to guard against it. send it back to you, Erica and Jim. We'll continue to monitor the situation here and bring you updates. But I'm Vince Gerasole.
Marissa, Parra, Jim, back to you.
Okay, Vince and Marissa, thank you.